Welcome to another presentation about the Automatiko project. Today we're going to look at versioning, especially the versioning of workflow definition, which directly translates to versioning of the service API, because we are going to look at the workflow as a service concept. So let's get started. Very quick introduction to our use case. So today we have a handling of parts, which is inspired by the automotive industry. So we're going to look at different things of product development and actually building parts. So here we start with the new part to validate it first. If it's not valid, then we end with an error state. If it's valid, we go into design phase, which is utilizing process composition concept to kind of break down the big workflows into smaller ones and make it more manageable. So with that, let's look at our version settings. So here we can see we can't see it. Oh, the properties are not shown. Let's just reopen the model. There we go. So we have the version 1. There we have a version 1 here as well. So this is our version number 1 of the handling parts service. So let's get started with the runtime. So as soon as it starts, we'll be able to inspect what we actually have in the service. So the service is up right now. So this is the dev UI, so we can easily look at the workflow console and the API itself. So first of all, here we can see that we already have main entry point of the service behind the handling of parts. And this is the API. As you can see, we have the version prefix in our API call. So that gives us the possibility to quickly look at what versions we have, which version we interact, and so on and so forth. So the versioning automatically is based on the prefix in the path. Another thing is that if we wanted to create a new version of it, the best practice for it is to actually start from the current one. So we just make a copy of this. And as soon as we made a copy, we can modify the configuration of the version. So we can update the documentation and actually update the version number. As simple as that. From now on, we can have both versions living in parallel without interfering. So if we go back to our API, we can see that we have version 1 and then we have the version 2 as well. On the other side, the management shows us both versions as well. So we can then individually look at them as we need them. All right, so let's get going and start off. Create new parts for each of the version. So the version 1 will have the identifier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Version 1, V1, and revision 1 to be kind of aligned with the version. Just copy that to speed up a little bit. There we go. Version 1 part created. Then we have the version 2. If we just go here, just do that. This time it will be from 9 to 5, version 2, and version 2. There we go. It is successfully created as well. If we look here, the same goes nicely. So we can look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is version 1, and then the other one is 98765. So that means that when we interact with versions of our services, the consumers needs to be completely aware of the version they're going to work with. In many cases, this is exactly what we want, but sometimes we would like to offload the consumers of it and make sure that they run on the latest version as soon as it's available. And for that, we can actually enable, because this is an opt-in feature in Automatiko, to kind of allow service to route to latest, and that is Quarkus Automatiko service route to latest, and we want to set it to true. What it means is that for the new instances of that service, it will always go to the latest version. But for the existing ones where you use the instance ID as part of your service call, it will route to the version that it actually belongs to. So if we look back here, we have one instance in version 1 and one instance version 2. So we can actually look at this very nicely. If we just go to the path of the service without the version prefix, we only get the information out of the latest version. But this time, if we want to, for instance, go for the instance that we know that it's version 1, we can actually do that as well without the version prefix, because the route to latest is smart enough to figure out which version of it has, which version of the workflow has it, and then delegate it there. So we can kind of offload the consumers from it. I would like to bring up one more feature around versioning, and that is the instance migration. So that's quite common that sometimes we would like to move from one place to the other. And to do that, we can easily make use of the management add-on. So if we just look here, go to the active ones, look at the information, export it. This gives us all the information, and keep in mind that this uses the process composition, which has currently active sub-process as well. So we can easily get this out as a complete instance with its dependent sub-instances. So for the purpose of this demonstration, let's abort it as well, meaning that we get rid of that completely, but we export it, so that's important to note. And if we just grab that file, let's just prettify it a little bit. And the only thing we need to look at is to change the version number that this process belongs to, or references. And that's, where do I have that? Process version, there should be, there we go. We change that to number 2. And then go to number 2, use the import workflow instance. We just grab this one and import it. As you can see, import successfully done. If we look at the now active instances, we can see both of them. And if you look at the details of it, we can actually see it has a complete state, and it has all the sub instances, and everything is actually imported in the exact same way. It keeps the information about everything it was. That allows us to easily get going with the instance migration as we want. And now if we look at, again, the version, unversioned prefix that is routing to latest, we can see it's there as well. And the same, if we just do this, it knows where it goes and so on and so forth. Obviously, it has the same data as we didn't make any data migration. We just moved it, the service instance, from one version to the other. All right, so that concludes today's presentation. I hope you enjoy it and you find versioning in Automatiko for both workload definitions and your service API a useful feature. Thanks a lot for listening, and till the next time.